This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Welcome to the Starlight Ballroom. Hey!
Hello and welcome to Shipwrecked and Comatose, the podcast about Red Dwarf, right here on the We Made This podcast network. And we have had quite the week this week, and we are on our 7th episode of 7, where we're looking at the first 7 issues of the Red Dwarf Smegazine. And as has been the case for the whole week, I'm joined by Carl and Colin. Hello, Colin.
Hello.
Hello, Carl.
Hello.
So we're on our last episode of this 7-day run that we thought was a good idea at the time. Do we still think that this was a good idea?
Yes.
Yeah. Smegathon.
I am not calling it the Smegathon. That sounds like signs of some weird-ass fetish in a dark room in Blackpool, and I'm not about that shit.
That's a memory you've tried to keep suppressed, isn't it?
That's very specific.
Yeah.
That was a bit more specific than it should have been, wasn't it? Hey, I was young and...
Needed the money.
Yeah.
No, I didn't need the money. I fucking paid. I mean, that wasn't me. Shit. Oh, this intro is not a good one.
That was my twin, Lark Daddams.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, what I'm getting at, before we talk more about the things that I... Moving on, do we want to carry on at some point and do, like, issues 8 to 14 at some point?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I do, but I wonder whether our listeners do. Should we put it to a poll?
No, because then they'll say no. It's not up to them.
True. The specials don't get as many listens as the main show, though.
The specials get loads of listeners, particularly, I mean, like Gangsters and Message to You, Rudy. They're, you know, Ghost Town.
Do love Ghost Town.
I saw the Prodigy cover Ghost Town, and it was better than the original.
It is a good cover. I have heard their cover of it. Not seen it live.
I saw on telly once Mark Lamar, Bill Bailey, Kevin Eldon, and a bunch of other comedians cover Gangster Time.
Beer Gut 100.
Yeah, and it was brilliant.
It was an Edinburgh Festival after show from the late 90s. You're the only person I know that has ever mentioned it. I was writing it in my notes for the episode of We Dig Music that we're recording at the weekend.
Good grief.
There's still a theory out there that me and Colin are the same person from parallel universes.
I mean, I can see that. It's a bit kind of... No, you're both not... No, you're both similar in a lot of ways, but both lovely in different ways. But yeah, I've enjoyed this week, and I think it's something we definitely want to do again, but maybe not anytime soon.
We'll do at least another series in between.
Yeah. So should we talk about issue 7 and wrap this week up?
We probably should do.
Okay, so the cover features some really cool artwork of mutants and the Vindaloo monster, and I'll be honest, some that I didn't recognise. Am I being dumb?
It's the polymorph and lots of things that the polymorph turned into in like one frame.
Yeah.
So if you blinked, you may have missed the teapot and the obviously you'll have seen the beach ball and things like that, but...
Oh, that makes more sense. Dopey me.
Hold on to your boxer shorts. The monsters are here, it says.
Yeah, but it says the monsters are here. It doesn't say the different versions of the polymorph are here. I'm still a bit dumb, aren't I?
I like the fact that now, rather than it just being like, oh, random picture of the crew or something like that, it's, oh, we've got a feature, and this is what the feature's about. Tune in for this.
Yeah, that's almost professional.
Yeah.
Almost.
And on the front, it also talks about the Channel 27 article that we're going to see inside and the David Ross interview. Again, it does feel like it's slowly but surely, and I know I was being flippant, it's almost professional, but it does feel like it's slowly but surely finding its feet and being a real magazine rather than a bunch of fans going, fucking hell, I've got a Red Dwarf magazine.
It's like they've actually planned it out.
Yeah, exactly that. Maybe they've got a bit more staff as well.
Yeah. If we were ever to do a spin-off podcast from this show,
Jesus wept, Carl. Give it a rest. No more podcasts.
I'd love to do an in-universe groovy Channel 27 podcast.
That is such a good idea.
We'd need to see if we can get an interview with Kylie Gwenlyn, though. If we were going to do that.
Just reporting on the news on the 27th of Geldof.
Yes.
Oh, that is such a good idea, Carl. Fuck. Right, first up is the comic strip. No more talking about other fucking podcasts. And it's Future Echoes Part 4. And the first thing I wrote down was, shit, that's a really graphic death of Bexley.
It's great, isn't it? The artwork is fucking brilliant in this one.
Yeah.
I also really like on the same page, just above Bexley's exploding and got random hands and blood everywhere, the bit with the dolphins and the human being Atarium. Because that was just a throwaway comment, but they've visualised it in the comic, and they've visualised it really, really nicely.
Yeah, it's the first panel is Lister putting his things in like vacuum seal because he's going into stasis. But one of the things that gets me is just in the corner of that. Is that an action figure of Rimmer?
Maybe.
Because presumably not, but it looks like him, and it just makes me laugh. Like Rimmer would be conceited enough to have an action figure.
It kind of looks like Shazam.
Yeah, or Dan Dare.
Yeah, it's going to be Dan Dare.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, with them dropping in other Fleetway properties in there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be Dan Dare.
That's cheeky.
Because the Mekon gets a mention in the Monsters article, I think.
Yeah.
The other thing I liked was Rimmer's funeral suit. The H was on his top hat.
Yeah,
I do like it when they played around with stuff like that. There's a few things with. A lot of the times you see it in deleted scenes on DVDs where they've done something and put an H on it. Like I'm sure he had a mug at one point that had the H on it.
There's so much to like here where they add stuff to the original story, but I do consistently prefer the new stuff, the original stuff, you know?
Yeah. I like I said, we're talking about the hat there. I like the idea that Rimmer has now managed to talk Holly into actually changing his outfit into what he actually wants.
Yeah.
As opposed to like a beehive hairdo or something like that.
Oh, I love the beehive hairdo. I still one of my favourite moments ever, and I always howl. Give me a crew cut. Really short.
Yeah, I think it was probably one of the first sort of jokes in Red Dwarf where I really lost it laughing is the "you are how you look," and I look like a complete and total tit.
Yep.
Next up is an ad for 2000 AD, and later on, there's an advert for Red Dwarf 2 on VHS, Judge Dredd, and the 2000 AD annuals. There's a lot of 2000 AD going on here.
Yeah.
This was probably, it's still popular today, but this might have been the peak of it, especially with Judge Dredd. We're a couple of years away from the movie, which possibly tanked it.
The Sylvester Stallone mess.
Mm-hmm. But, that's... I am looking forward, because they keep saying they're going to do a series, like a Mega City 1 series, and I'd love to see that. And I'm not even a huge Dredd fan.
Yeah,
but I'd love to see how they did that, because it's definitely more possible now. And the second film was really good.
Oh yeah, I loved the Dredd film with Carl Urban.
Yeah,
yes, it was great. Also, when they were building the new street station in Birmingham, before they'd put all the big mirrored casing on the entrance bit above the doorway, there was like this weird cage bit, and it really looked like Judge Death.
Brilliant. Good.
Death welcomes you to Birmingham.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not that unrealistic.
there is. I mean, we were talking. You mentioned in the last episode Marvel UK.
Yeah.
I got the Captain Britain and MI13 books.
Yeah.
There's only 3 because Marvel UK kind of tanked after that. But the second volume is called Hell Comes to Birmingham.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
And you meet Captain Midlands.
Seriously.
I've got to read that.
Yeah. Captain
Surely
Midlands.
you should have been Captain Yam Yam.
The thing is, he's an old kind of soldier guy who wears like his old war outfit, his helmet and everything, and his catchphrase is "You can't stop Captain Midlands," and he does that whenever he's like running through a door or something like
Yeah,
that.
of course, stop Captain Midlands.
And he's racist.
Oh fuck, he's not, is he?
He's all the others look at him like, "Oh, you really need to stop doing that." He's not like National Front racist. He's just when people sort of go, he's from a different era. He's a
granddad racist.
Yeah, because he's an old bloke. Yeah, but he's just one of those characters that are just like, right, we'll never get a chance to do this again. Let's have Captain Midlands.
Shit me.
It's really, I recommend it. Paul Cornell's run on that, all the way from those 3 volumes of Captain Britain and MI13, really, really good. And he's a former 2000 AD writer as well.
Fascinating.
Yeah, cool.
Next up is Who Said What, which is a quiz that asks you which character and which episode. Which character's really easy, which episode is not.
It depends. They vary. Some of them are really, really easy for the episode, and some of them, like We're Here to Entertain You.
Yeah,
that's obviously backwards.
As a fun little kind of brain teaser, it's a fun little thing. I got all the characters and about 2/3 of the episodes, maybe.
I thought We're Here to Entertain You was Quarantine.
Is it?
Yeah, at the end was like, "Don't worry, we're here to entertain you."
You're absolutely fucking right. Oh man, I'm rubbish.
Oh, that was when they were all in the gingham dresses at the end, wasn't it?
I was thinking it was the Incredible Backwards Brothers.
If we ever do a live show, can we dress up in the gingham dresses and boots?
You can.
Oh, come on, Mark, you've got one somewhere.
I've just moved house, so I've got rid of stuff.
The panto box went away.
I've still got my banana costume.
Of course.
Next up is the fun page, and we've got Crichton's Mechanical Mystery and Lister's Cookery Conundrum. And I just fucking love the fun page. There's nothing new here. It's just stupid, dumb shit. And I just love it. It's wonderful.
I really like the Cookery Conundrum.
Yeah.
Because, spoilers, it's a fucking 30-something-year-old magazine. Basically, it's a list of mutton, chicken, pork, kipper, prawn, lamb, turkey, and beef. And then list 2 is stew, scratchings, cocktail, stroganoff, chasseur, casserole, vindaloo, and sandwiches. And you have to link them all up together. And the answers are, all of them are vindaloo.
See, this is my kind of humour. Yeah. Fucking simple, fucking funny. Just good. Next up is Holograms, which is the letters page. There's a poem for Rimmer, and there's some big love for the original comics. I agree.
Yeah.
And they've kind of changed the format a little bit, and there's Holly's Databank now, which is basically the fake letters.
Yeah, it's the fake letters because they're trying to set up a new bit that I think they want people to write in for, but they hadn't decided that they were going to do it to tell people previously. Mm. But I'm glad it's got the fake letters because there's some fucking brilliant ones in there. Because it's all it's all send us in a question, we'll answer it kind of thing. So the first question, which is from Mr. NE1, who writes in to ask, when will the BBC be showing Series 1 of Red Dwarf? That's an easy one, N. The answer is they already have. It was in 1988, and dead good it was too.
It's just so sarcastic.
I love that.
Yeah, they mention Donna Di Stefano in one of the ones as well, who's a proper, not unsung hero, but when she keeps popping up in like the documentaries that were on the DVDs and things like that, like she's the fake Kachansky in which one is it? The one in the hotel.
That's the one that they're talking about in there.
Yeah, and look, she's still working now, but she's working on proper big stuff from what I remember looking up. So it's good to see that she's gone from like Red Dwarf, where she was like trying to make the set look less grey, to working on sort of big films now.
Yeah,
it's cool. Very cool. Next up is The Monsters of Red Dwarf, which is the big feature that was promoted on the front cover. And it basically goes through all the monsters that we've encountered so far. But what I like is that it confirms no alien life. So it's stuff like the Gelfs, Mechanoids, the Mutton Vindaloo Beast, and the Inquisitor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is there a metal band anywhere called Mutton Vindaloo Beast?
There really should be.
There absolutely should be, and they should be. They should play at the conventions.
Yes,
do a cover of Om, various songs by Rastabilly Skank and stuff like that.
I still think this scope, if there's going to be, if there is more episodes, to start meeting some of these people, it would be nice to meet Rastabilly Skank.
Yes,
yeah, I think so.
Probably, I'd probably say played by Craig Charles in a beard.
Yes, that would be fun. Or it could be played by Craig Charles's brother.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, actually.
Yes, as he was in Young Lister as Smeg and the Heads.
Indeed. This article was a little bit of a disappointment for me. As a relatively knowledgeable fan, there was nothing new, and it was basically more episode summaries.
It's just a list, basically, and telling you a little bit about them.
It makes sense as an article. It just was a little bit disappointing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have more stuff in there like we talked about last issue with the Grant Naylor interview. That kind of gave a different light on things we already knew. But on this, it is just, this is what it is. But if you've seen the episode, you know what this is.
Yeah.
Although the word triplicator is still one of my favourite words in science fiction.
Yeah. It is a good word. I'll tell you what it made me think of is if they'd added some stats, it would have just been a page of the RPG source book.
Yeah. So a Red Dwarf Top Trumps thing would be pretty interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Red Dwarf Top Trumps would be ace.
Yeah.
Someone should make that. Someone might have made that.
There's so much stuff that they've missed out on doing.
The
other shows have just gone, no, we'll do that. Integrity be damned. But Red Dwarf has gone, nah.
Next up is a short story, Bring Me the Head of Alfresco Guacamole, and it's about Jake Bullitt, which I'm all about. Jake Bullitt with his own little story. Love it.
I loved this.
Yeah, it's fucking fantastic. It's a total Naked Gun Police Squad ripoff.
Yeah, it really reminded me of the Naked Gun too.
But in doing that, it's got more jokes in its 2 pages than the rest of probably the last 4 issues combined. It's utterly brilliant, and it's probably my favourite thing that's been in any of the 7 issues that we've done, I think.
Yeah,
I really liked it too. And what I also was really impressed by the really cool kind of Tetsuo style body horror portrait. That was nasty as fuck.
Also, the second portrait in there, the one that's not of Jake Bullitt, looks a lot like Michael Jackson.
It's interesting because in the last issue, it said next issue we've got a Jake Bullitt strip. And obviously we've got the story instead. But eventually, and this is why I really do want to do the next volume, there is a Jake Bullitt strip.
Yeah.
And it's really good. So it makes me wonder if that was going to be starting in this issue and it wasn't ready. It's possible. They wrote this instead. But it's real, and I love that kind of detective, like, you know, she walked into my office kind of
The noir
yeah,
vibe.
noir things.
And the jokes in it are just, I mean, I recalled how my fellow droids at Acme Cleaning Company had told me that police work and domestic appliances didn't mix, but I knew that wasn't true. After all, just look at J. Edgar Hoover.
Exactly. And the style of it as well. I mean, this is what the strip kind of, when we get around to it, we'll see, but it does kind of look like this, a bit grimy, but it also it looks like a cross between that and some of the strips we've seen already, and it's a really interesting style when we do get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've got nothing bad to say about this. I thought this was an exceptional little story, and I'm really pleased about that it was there. Next up is Read Any Good Books Lately, which I'm over the moon that it's a regular feature because you two hated it and I loved it. And it's basically random sci-fi book reviews like it was last time, and they look at some shared universes and book franchises. And again, books I'd never heard of, but that's cool. I might actually give these a go.
But an author you've heard of, because they're talking about the Wildcard series, which is compiled and edited by George R.R. Martin.
I've heard of him.
Which is obviously, this is about 5 or 6 years before the first Game of Thrones book. So at that point, I wouldn't know that he's the worst fucking writer that has ever existed, because the first Game of Thrones book is fucking terrible. Come on, fight me, nerds. It's fucking shit. I like the TV series, but I've tried to read. I've read the first book 3 times. I've read it as an actual book. I've tried it as an audio book, and it's just so badly written.
So, for those of you who don't know, Colin does an Instagram where he logs all of his walks that he does. What we don't realize is that Colin's actually just going out into open spaces and yelling, "Come on, nerds! Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough."
No, I am a nerd. I get on with many nerds, but anybody that thinks that the Game of Thrones books the Song of Ice and Fire books are well written, fuck off.
It's a bit of a slug, I will agree.
It's no likeable characters at all. They managed to change some in the TV series to make a lot of them very likeable. And that's my book review.
Yeah, I think the other day, as of time of recording, some pictures came out of the spin-off for Game of Thrones. And I don't know what it is, but I always feel, out of all the Doctors, Matt Smith seems to just pick not great things to be in. He does do some good stuff.
He was in The Crown, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, but it tends to be stuff that's not as high profile almost. It's never genre stuff that's fun genre stuff like, Tennant did Jessica Jones and Fright Night and things like that. But Matt Smith seems desperately trying to go away from that, and obviously I'd have totally loved to see what his Terminator would have looked like if it got a sequel, but he got a poster and everything and he's in it for like a minute.
Meh.
I've seen him on stage with Orbital at Glastonbury.
I've seen the video of that, yeah.
I was there, it was great.
I didn't get to see the musical, but the American Psycho musical he was in, the recording is on Spotify.
Cool.
And I want to check that out. It just seemed like such a random thing for him to do. I mean, I like Matt Smith. It's just sometimes it's like, why have you, like when he did that Ryan Gosling movie, it was like, why have you done that?
Why are we talking about Matt Smith?
Sorry,
because we've just completely derailed it.
Yeah, we have. Next up is the David Ross interview, and I really like that they included him in the run of interviews, because he's more important than I think people give him credit for.
He is. I just don't think he comes across very well in the interview at all.
No, he does not. You're right. And I also question the usage of the words piss and bollocks. That's clearly words that are for at least older kids, probably adults. So they're trying to be edgy because they didn't star it out or anything or replace it with a more family-friendly term.
No, but he's also got... There's a bit where he's talking about his first role in the theatre where he was playing a black homosexual.
Yeah.
Oh, he blacked up for it.
And he blacked up for it. I mean, my notes for this is... Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also there's a bit where he's talking about when he came back to play Talkie Toaster, his wife had left him. No, he'd left his wife that week, and he does not come across well in this interview at all.
No, he doesn't. He's quite 90s ick, actually.
Yeah. I did chuckle at the line where he's talking about that first role. He goes, I didn't even know what a homosexual was. Almost in that sort of, what's this newfangled iPod? It's a homosexual, you say? It's like, you don't know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. He also talks about how and why he turned down Crichton. That was at least interesting. But I think you're right. I like that he was included, but I didn't really like the interview.
Yeah. To be honest, I prefer John Lenihan as the Toaster. I just think he's got a better voice for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Lenihan's voice. I'm guessing we've all seen him. John Lenihan's voice matches what John Lenihan looks like. He's a magician, and if you look at him, you know he's a magician because he's got the expression on his face of like, I am high, jazz hands at all times, kind of.
I think holding out for a John Lenihan interview in this magazine is probably pushing it.
Yeah, you never know. It's he does come across really off. He comes across as I was a proper actor and I ended up doing, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. My notes on here is he's not as interesting as he thinks he is.
Yeah.
I think he thinks he's like this old theatre raconteur, and he just comes across as a bit of a bellend.
The others' interviews, they all came across as loving and appreciating Red Dwarf, whereas this just comes across as a generic interview with a guy who's there getting paid.
Yeah. You could have probably got an extra, and they would have given a more loving interview about what they were doing on Red Dwarf.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Next up is the TV guide for Channel 27.
Groovy Channel 27, Mark. Groovy Channel 27.
Right, yes.
The funky channel.
Indeed.
It is. And a bloody hell, this is very 90s with its dated telly-rep.
I love it, though.
References.
Yeah, I love this so much.
I enjoyed it too.
The thing about, was it Doctor Who is resurrected as the hologrammatic Time Lord? We're not far off that now.
Yeah.
No. I love that they referenced Trails of the Riverbank of the Next Generation. That popped me.
Yeah. My favourite bit is you've got various different bits of androids throughout the day, but then at 8:30 you've got Simulants, new soap opera from the producers of Androids. This week, Jeff rips Martin's head off his shoulders.
Yeah. And then there's Androids, the movie 4 at 10:30, followed by Androids.
Advanced showing of tomorrow's episode.
Yeah. And then I do like the fact in all of this, Terry Wogan is still working.
Yes.
Of course.
He's not a simulant, he's not a hologram, it's Terry. And Sir Terry's still going.
We miss Sir Terry.
He's doing the breakfast show in heaven, let's be fair. If there is...
No, he's not.
No, okay. I was going to say if there is one, then Terry Wogan's doing the breakfast show, but...
There isn't.
Wrong crowd. Yeah. I do like that it's sponsored by Pot Noodle International. It's as good for you now as it's always been.
The pot noodle thing, I don't get it. They're all right. Nothing wrong with a pot noodle.
Have I told the story about me and about a pot mash?
Oh, I remember pot mash. Now they were fucking minging.
Yeah, right. I was in Disneyland.
With a pot mash? That's really contradictory. Like on the holiday of a lifetime, and you've got a pot fucking mash.
Well, it was a college thing, and we went to, it was Euro Disney. It was only been open a short while, I think. But one of the lads, he'd packed like loads of food. It was that kind of like, well, I don't know what the food's like over here. It's like, it's gonna be the same. But he packed like, pot mash and all this kind of stuff. And he made one in the hotel room. And obviously it's an instant thing. Poured the hot water on it. It starts expanding. It doesn't stop expanding. And then it gets to the point where it's like, is this going to fill the room? Because it's just, we ended up chucking it in a bin because it just wouldn't. It was like those special effects things where you tip, a bit of this in here, those science experiments where you tip like a bit of powder on this and a bit of water on this, and it turns into a massive jet of foam.
The snake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with mash. And
Amazing.
it stank. And we're just there going, of all the things we could get up to, because, you can drink in Euro Disney, of all the things we can get up to, we are almost destroying a hotel room against our will with mashed potato.
There's a reason why pot mashes are no longer with us, but we've still got pot noodle.
Yeah. I think they still make pot curry, don't they, as well?
There's the Bombay Bad Boy is my favourite pot noodle.
I've not eaten a pot noodle in at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's probably because I had a Bombay Bad Boy. Yeah.
A what? Sorry, Carl.
A Bomboy Bad Bay.
A Bombay Bad Boy. Yeah, I've had one of them too, mate.
Yeah. Sometimes we talk about the slightly dark undercurrent in Red Dwarf episodes. I feel like we've got that.
So anyway, Queeg shows up.
Yeah,
He does. Next up is the character profile of Lister, and it's kind of fun for casual fans, I guess. It tells you his species, his hobbies, taste in music, associates, etc., etc.
Yeah, I've got one major issue.
Go on.
Musical tastes. Obviously, I'm going to pick up on that one.
course.
Taste probably isn't the word here. Lister's favourite genre of music is Rastabilly Skank. Rastabilly Skank is an artist, not a genre.
They even don't they even at one point name what genre Rastabilly Skank is as well?
Possibly.
On the show.
yeah.
Well, it did make me think about Rastabilly Skank, and his name is not done justice by the music that Howard Goodall made for him, because it's just fairly straight acoustic blues. Whereas I want it, it's supposed to be so raucous that it carries with it a government health warning. I want black metal mixed with dub, mixed with fucking,
Yeah, what he came out with on the actual, when we did actually hear some, I've been to some folk festivals, and I'm sure I've heard somebody like at least 6 homebrewed ciders in get up on stage and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've sounded like that when I don't drink at all, but I've sounded like that. You don't need the homebrewed cider.
I've seen some stuff at folk festivals.
You weren't there, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fine, and I get it. It's a little bit filler for me, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But it's leading into probably one of my favourite parts of the whole issue.
Is that the comic strip?
The comic strip, yeah.
Comic strip is called Fashion Victims, and it is a cat-focused story, and it also features the Dream Recorder.
Yes.
And his suits are kind of suit-napped by people from a planet with a style famine. And as a concept, I really think it's fun.
I really like the design of the robot dude that turns up to steal the suits. He looks awesome.
Yeah. Of all the years of Danny John Jules complaining that there's never really been a cat episode, but in the magazines he's got them, and he probably doesn't know.
That's probably true. He probably didn't read the magazine. Do you think they would have read the magazine?
I can imagine. I'd say out of all of them, Robert Llewellyn probably read it.
Yeah.
And that's probably it. But I do like the fact Lister says it took him 40 minutes to get the suit from the other end of his wardrobe, and he was running the whole way. Again, this would make a good episode or mini-sode or something like that. It's a good idea, a good quick idea. The idea that there's a dimension where cat suits are currency.
Yeah.
I liked it. I don't think it's a favourite of all the original strips so far, but I did like it. And yeah, you'd have thought I'd have loved it, but there was something I don't know. I just didn't love it as much as...
Was it the sex room?
Nothing wrong with the sex room. Who hasn't got a sex room?
I haven't got 2 large double doors with sex room written on it.
You don't? That's not normal.
Was that the first thing you set up in your new flat?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. I didn't have a sofa, but I got my sex room sorted. Isn't that normal?
Kettle, loo roll, sex room.
No. Kettle, sex room, loo roll.
Excellent.
I don't have a sex room. I don't have a fucking sex room.
Tell it to the judge.
I like the continuity that whenever Kat or someone else is on the Dream Recorder, Rimmer's on the exercise bike. Yeah, it's just a thing of, is he powering it? What's he doing?
And then we've got the next issue in the right place this time. There's cut-out action set headed your way, an A to Z quiz, profile of Rimmer, a Mr. Flibble comic strip, and an interview with Peter Ragg, who is the special effects guy.
Yes.
So I think that interview is going to be dead good.
Yeah.
I remember that interview, and I remember the Mr. Flibble comic, definitely.
Brilliant.
But we'll have to find out about that later in the year.
Yeah, he's a big part of things I watched growing up, obviously Red Dwarf, but he also did the effects on Bottom.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, he turns up in a lot of like behind the scenes stuff on Bottom and bloopers of stuff, where a lot of it is like him rigging stuff to hit Rick Mail in the face.
Well, that's generally what it was.
Yeah,
Good.
but he's always been. Well, I've seen interviews with him as well. He's always been a fun one because he just seems to just turn up and do it, and it's really nice, and he's always fun. So I'm very looking forward to reading the interview with him. Definitely.
Great. Well, we'll have to wait because we ain't doing another one tomorrow.
No, we're not. So, favourite section, Carl?
It might actually be the comic strip. The
Fashion
cat
Victims.
suits one, the Fashion Victims. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a good one. Or actually, I'm gonna put that in second. It's the Groupie Funky Channel 27 listings.
Brilliant. Colin, how about yourself?
Jake Bullitt, Bring Me the Head of Alfresco Guacamole. That was absolutely fantastic. Loved it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I thought that was last issue for some reason.
No, this one. It's just been a longer one. This issue is absolutely jam-packed compared to all of the others. When I've been writing my notes, I've got like 12 sections on this one, whereas I've had like 7 or 8 on the other ones.
Yeah.
I'm still going to say the Channel 27. That just really tickled me.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with you on Jake Bullitt, but honourable mention to the fun page as always, because I bloody love the fun page. It's just so dumb. So, least favourite section, Carl?
I'd probably say the monsters.
Right.
I think it's almost like, right, we've run out of series to do episode guides on. We need another list type article, and I think this is what's taking its place.
A listicle.
A listicle, yeah. As much as like the David Ross interview, he doesn't make a good showing for himself. It is kind of interesting seeing what he was up to and watching him not make a good showing of himself in the interview. But the monsters thing, I think that'd be it for me.
How
Yeah.
about you, Colin?
Well, whereas that was a listicle, I think the one that I didn't like as much was David Ross, who's just a complete testicle. So, whereas we've had other bits in previous issues where it's just been a bit of filler. So, come to expect that. You're going to get some bits of filler in there, like the Monsters article. But the David Ross interview, I actually felt negative towards it, where I hadn't with any of the other bits really previously. Right. He seems so bitter. And just
He does, doesn't he?
He's a twat. So we aren't getting an interview with him on the podcast.
No, I don't want him. I think you're absolutely right about the interview, Colin. But I agree with Carl that it was still a really quite morbidly interesting read as this guy buried himself.
Yeah.
So I'm also going to go for the Monsters of Red Dwarf because it had been really heavily built up. It had been advertised in the previous issue. It was on the front cover, and then it was just cack. Yeah. So that's my reasoning behind that.
Fair enough.
I think what you've both said about this being the strongest issue, I wouldn't say it was any stronger than the last issue, but I think that's important because they're both quite strong now and they're becoming consistent. And it's like we said in the last episode, they've found their feet and they've found something that works. We were skeptical about 2 comic strips, but they've proved us wrong. And it's just, I think it's a really nice, settled magazine now. And our next run, whenever we do it, we'll be looking at a confident, capable publication, which was not the case for the first few issues.
When we described it, well, I think I described the first few issues as very much like a fanzine.
Yeah.
And this is a magazine. This is a proper magazine / comic in a way.
So, it is our last of the 7 episodes, so I want you to do your full-on shill of all your shit. Carl, why don't you go first?
Well, you can find all my shit, so to speak, at allmylinks.com / Mr. Carl. There's links to the podcasts I do, the film nights I do, and all other bits in between that I get up to, and that's the best place to find me on things.
Colin.
I'm way less efficient than Carl, so mine are scattered all over the fucking place.
Don't worry, I'm the same.
So I've got 2 other podcasts. We Dig Music, which is me and my co-hosts Ian and Tracy. We are currently choosing a different year each month and choosing our favourite songs of that year. So we've just recently, we're about to, at the time of recording, we're about to do 1979. And then we've got other years later on. They're all scattered all over the place. And then my other podcast, which is me and Ian again, with Free With This Month's Issue, which is each month the 2 of us plus a different guest. Mark's been on one. Carl's going to be on another one soon. We basically listen to an old free CD from Kerrang or NME or Terrorizer or Q or something like that and find the various delights and horrors within. They're both on all podcast apps and Spotify and that kind of thing. You can find them all on wedigpodcast.com and you can find them on Twitter. It's at This Month's Issue and at wedigmusicpcast. Both of them are the same, I think, on Instagram. You can search them. Use a fucking search engine. It's easy. That'll do.
Okay, if you're looking for me, I'm at Mark Adams HC on Twitter. I have 3 other podcasts because I'm a podcast whore. First up is Right in the Childhood, which is a podcast about kids' TV with a bit of a twist that me and my mate Fraser are opposite ends of millennial and haven't watched any of each other's telly shows before. So one goes in with rose-tinted glasses and one goes in a little bit more cynical. And
guess which?
Yeah. No, we take it in turns. You haven't heard the episode on Ghost Watch yet. That's our Halloween special.
Ooh,
Fraser fucking went for me. My goodness. But anyway, that's RITC Pod on Twitter. I also have a podcast about the stories behind people's tattoos. You will have heard an episode of that here earlier during the specials because someone came on and talked about Red Dwarf. That was Raf. But if you're interested in that, it's at Ink Stories Pod on Twitter. And finally, I have a podcast that is linked to my job as a humanist celebrant called Life's Milestones, at Life's Milestones on Twitter. And I talk to different people every fortnight about birth, weddings, and funerals. Bloody hell. Boys, we've managed to do a week's worth of podcasts. And by the time this is aired, I'll have managed to do a week's worth of editing.
Yeah.
That's if these ever see the light of day.
Yeah. If these have got to come out, otherwise how are we going to do Smegathon 2?
This is true.
Smeg harder.
We are not calling it Smegathon, and we're definitely not calling it Smeg Hard.
Smeg hard with a vengeance. A good day to Smeg hard.
For fuck's sake.
Live free, Smeg hard.
So thank you for listening, and until next time.
Shipwrecked and Comatose is brought to you by Pot Noodle International, as good for you now as it always has been.
Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast, was created and produced by Mark Adams and Kurt North. You can find us on Twitter at Red Dwarf Pod, and we are part of the We Made This Podcast Network, which can be found online at wemadethispod.com or on Twitter at We Made This Pod.
Hello everyone, this is Tony, Network Chief of We Made This. As you know, our podcast network brings together a brilliant assortment of talent who talk about all kinds of pop culture content, such as the episode you just listened to. We're not going anywhere, but we'd love to keep the lights on for even longer if you're able to support our network on Patreon. For just £2 a month, you get your name in lights and the satisfaction of knowing you're helping us produce more great audio. And for £3 a month, you'll get your name in lights, but you'll also get access to an exclusive bi-monthly podcast from the We Made This talent pool on podcasting, pop culture, and, well, you tell us. We'll take your suggestions. For less than the price of a coffee per month, you can help keep We Made This going. Just head to patreon.com/We Made This. That's patreon.com/We Made This. And get the ball rolling.
Elsewhere on We Made This.
Pick a disc.
Imagine if George R.R. Martin had a mental breakdown, decided that his main mode of transport was talking to him and telling him to kill people, and he somehow managed to find a way into Game of Thrones, and he was told to kill Sansa Stark because she reminded him of an ex-girlfriend. That's technically what the plot of this album is an analogue to.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it. Yeah.
So,
Right in the childhood.
Normally, we take it in turns. I pick a show that you've never heard of. You pick a show that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And we flip it and we flip it and we flip it. But we're doing Mad Mutant Month. This was your idea.
Yeah,
Tell everyone
because-
about Mad Mutant Month.
Well, because the vaccines turned us all into mad mutants.
Really?
No, we were looking for shows that has sort of like spanned through generations of childhood, whether that's through reboots or whether from like... We were looking for, shows that sort of like managed to span through Gen X, Millennial to Gen Z. And one of the ones that has done that through both reboots and reruns is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Cerebral Jukebox.
The whole premise of the song is young, lads going off to get blown to bits for no real reason other than they were sent there by a magistrate or needed the money. It's a real stark contrast, the whole series, and this song about patriotism, duty, and the sort of horrors of it as well, that you'll probably die. Because in the Napoleonic Wars and the sort of preceding wars, these were like teenagers getting sent to countries that they'd not even read about in books because they couldn't read, to get blown to bits.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This Podcast Network.